So, you guys were asking, and since we do these videos for you, it was time to deliver. The Huawei Mate 50 Pro is a phone with a pretty impressive camera setup, but as you've seen in our comparisons time and time again, the big specs on paper don't necessarily translate 100% to real-world testing. Fear not though, because we have you covered with the Galaxy S22 Ultra, the Pixel 7 Pro, and the iPhone 14 Pro joining the Mate 50 Pro in this 4-way camera comparison. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Let the facts speak. I've been really ill the past few days, so Sam stepped up to keep the videos going. Say hi to him in the comments. Same structure as our best Android camera comparison, with 4 points to the best photo, 3 for second place, 2 for third, and 1 for fourth. This one was quite tricky as they're all good quality photos. I will point out one thing though, the Mate 50 Pro's photos have a red complexion from time to time, which is linked to their understanding of white balance. Because of this, they'll be a step behind the other 3 in this photo. Number 3 is a battle between Google and Apple, but this battle will have no victor. Even though I was a fan of Sam's facial features on the Mate, we are once again seeing an overload of red, tying Huawei and Samsung in this one. It's crazy how results can change so much from phone to phone just because of lighting. In my opinion, the Galaxy's photo looks almost flawless here, a round of applause to their camera software. The Mate is a close second, and the Pixel will take third because the iPhone is a bit confused about white balance, although I must admit that the photo looks cool. Next up is a photo so perfect that after long and strenuous testing, we decided that all of them look nice, so strike up 4 points for each one. Photo number 6 will go the way of the iPhone once again, and it's just really impressive how Apple's camera software seems to be excelling when the scene conditions aren't optimal. The Mate takes the silver medal, with the blue light softly but still visibly adding a cool look to Sam, and while the Pixel did the same thing, it also made the photo a tad too dark. The Galaxy is slightly blurry and noisy in this one, so it takes 4th place. We unfortunately didn't know that in Berlin, it's possible to get arrested for being good looking, as Apple and Google will be the ones to give us the best detail and color accuracy in this mugshot. Samsung's warm photos don't bother me as much as a saturated photo of Huawei, so 3rd and 4th place respectively for them. Photo number 8 puts the iPhone in the spotlight as the only one to be able to control the lighting, as the Pixel takes 2nd with a decent photo. The Mate comes in 3rd here due to the Galaxy having not only a darker but also a quite saturated photo. Next, blue everywhere. Well, not really everywhere. I don't know what it is about indoors, but Apple's software is continuing to deliver. Samsung will come in 2nd here, and Huawei 3rd, with the Google, or rather, Bloogle Pixel taking 4th place. Last photo has Huawei finishing strong, as I really like Sam's skin tone and also the attention to detail. Samsung is following close by, with the iPhone and the Pixel rounding out the list. When we take a general look, the standings will be Apple, Huawei, Samsung, and Google respectively. An intriguing fact is that the Pixel 7 Pro was the winner of the photo category in our previous comparison video, in which we were outside under sunny conditions. Today though, the iPhone 14 Pro had the best photos. This goes to show that different phones perform differently under different circumstances, and I think it's the perfect circumstance to remind you to sub to the channel and like this video if you'd like to support our efforts. With the ultra-wide camera next in line, this first photo will be a draw because the lights kept changing and it was impossible to capture the same photo. We just wanted to show it to you because it looks awesome. Next up, due to brightness, the photo taken by the Mate 50 Pro is missing some detail around the face. The other 3 are quite different but similar in quality, so 4 points to each of them. This was another hard one, and the only issue we had was Google needlessly darkening the photo and making it harder to look at. The Pixel does come back and take 1st place in the next photo though, while the Galaxy's background doesn't look the best, but it'll still take 2nd because the iPhone has too many shadows around Sam and his face, while the Mate has a red complexion once again. Photo number 5 looks the best on Huawei, with Apple a close 2nd due to a slightly yellowy look. Samsung and Google are tied, as Google is a bit dark, while Samsung is kind of blue and lifeless. This one was close between the Pixel 7 Pro and the Galaxy S22 Ultra, but Google's ability to capture detail around everything will grant it the gold medal as silver goes to the Galaxy. The Mate 50 Pro and the iPhone 14 Pro are tied for bronze due to the slight pink look of the Mate and the sharp, dark look of Sam's face. Last ultra-wide photo will go the way of all three on the right, as the saturation on the Mate is just too high. The points for ultra-wide were as close as they could be, with Huawei getting 22, Apple getting 23, Samsung getting 24, and Google getting 25 points, and I promise you it was not planned. We do have a few portrait photos coming up, and it's a sight to behold. Huawei was able to dim down the red light on Sam's face the best, as Google also did a decent job here. Samsung and Apple will come tied in third, as even though the quality is nice, the lighting is not. The second photo will go the way of the iPhone, as it overall looks really good, and the Pixel is going to be second with a decent photo, minus the textured look of the skin. The Mate takes third place, while the Galaxy actually looks really good at first glance, but because it decided to shave off half of Sam's hair by accident, it will have to settle for last place. Now, this photo will give you a glimpse of the amazing edge, or rather, hair detection of Huawei. Their software recognizes the few pieces of hair sticking out from the side, which is obviously not expected. If only it managed white balance better, as well as not messing up in other areas, we'd be speaking about a lot of different things. Samsung has the upper hand in this one, while the rest have their ups and downs with differing white balance values, all being tied. Photo number 4 is a close one between Apple and Samsung, as there are no noticeable differences. Huawei has slight edge problems here, but it still did better than Google, whose photo is once again too dark. The next photo will have the iPhone snatching the first place spot with a great photo. Samsung takes second place with a little less detail around the face, and Google did a bit better than Huawei in this one. Next up, a very mystical photo. For some reason, Google excelled in this one, as both colors and detail are pretty good. Huawei also did really well, so second place to them. Apple is a bit yellow, but regardless, better than Samsung in its hazy photo in this one. Lastly, great detail on the iPhone and the Pixel, but the iPhone manages the brightness better in this one. The Mate's background is a bit too bright, but still looks better than the one on the Galaxy, so third and fourth place respectively. Some interesting results under tough conditions, but Apple delivered as they usually do in portrait mode. Google was able to take second place here, a big improvement in performance over last year's flagship, as Huawei is third and Samsung is surprisingly fourth. The S22 Ultra usually does a lot better when we shoot outside around nature, so this was an interesting experience. Another interesting thing though is how easy it is to create websites with Squarespace. You don't need to be a professional website designer to have heard of a tool like Squarespace before. In fact, it's quite the opposite, because Squarespace does most of the work for you. Everyone from influencers looking to develop a bigger online presence to e-commerce store owners have looked into, if not directly used Squarespace to further their brand. Simply put, Squarespace is a website builder designed to help creative minds and website owners build incredible sites. With Squarespace, you don't need to know any kind of coding or even what it takes to put a website together whatsoever. If you want to give it a try, you can click the link in the description below to visit their page and see their affordable prices, and you can also use our code VERSUS to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. With that being said, it's time to compare videos, and one of the things we tend to focus on is clarity. If we freeze around here, we can see the sharp and clear letters of the display of the bus with regard to the iPhone and the Pixel. They do a better job with moving objects. The Galaxy is also a bit cleaner than the Mate, so Samsung will come in third place with Huawei getting 2 points. In the second video, the iPhone is my favorite with the Galaxy a close second. I'm not a fan of the red complexion of the Mate that's been dragging them down from time to time, so they'll take last place while the Pixel comes in third. Ultrawide isn't particularly pleasing with all devices having some amount of noise, but Apple once again has it the least, as well as not having any white balance issues, so 4 points to them and 3 points to the rest. Meanwhile, the 8K video of Samsung needs to be improved. It's too cropped in with too much noise. The iPhone is just better at horizontal videos as well, and we just wanted to show you the quality difference in every way possible. So, a quick recap will give Apple the first place for the video category, What a surprise. Google and Samsung have equal points, as Samsung's 8K isn't good enough to make a difference, and Huawei unfortunately underperformed at videos. Let's turn the phone around and check out the front cameras. I like the first photo on all of the phones. They're quite different, but also quite nice. The second photo won't have the same result though, as Google is my preference here, with nice white balance and also skin color. Apple is second, Samsung is third with a yellowy outlook, and Huawei is fourth with those red tones and less details. Third photo is a tie between the Galaxy and the iPhone, as the Pixel and the Mate are a step behind. The first portrait selfie goes to Google with pretty accurate colors and good enough edge detection. Following close is Samsung with a natural look but pretty warm white balance, and third is Apple with errors around the hair. Huawei had focus issues, so unfortunately they get fourth place. Next up is a really nice photo by Samsung, compared to the others at least. The rest are tied with either detection issues or having a really saturated image. For this one, I'll go with the iPhone, a really clean photo. The Mate also did pretty well to take second place, as the Galaxy takes third and the Pixel comes in last. You can't really tell much when I'm far away while taking a video with the front camera, but as I slowly get closer and closer and closer, check out the super nice details on the Pixel and somewhat on the Galaxy, a tie for them. The iPhone has that painting feel if you look at my face, and the Mate has noise and too much sharpness, so they'll be tied as well. I have the feeling this was super close, and seems like it was the right feeling, as the iPhone, the Galaxy, and the Pixel are tied with 23 points each for the front camera. The Mate only managed 18 points. Moving on to zoom, we had some interesting issues with the Mate, just like how we did with the P50 Pro, but more on that later. 5 times is pretty solid for Google, 10 times is the same for Samsung, as 30 times pushes Samsung even further, even against the super res zoom of Google. As you've probably noticed, Huawei software is giving us issues. We got some hate when the P50 Pro underperformed in our zoom video at the beginning of this year, but this time we have a recording to be able to describe it better. 50 times zoom, and finally 100 times don't yield the best results, but it does show that Samsung will take first place here, as Google follows it by taking second. Apple is third, with Huawei getting fourth. I'm sure Apple will bounce back with stabilization though. None of the others have been able to put down an update to challenge the 14 Pro, and what I mean by that is, the iPhone 14 Pro can shoot in 2.8K while the stabilization mode is turned on. I should mention that they didn't have this mode on previous models, and it's a big improvement to the stabilization capabilities of their devices. 2.8K is a big difference compared to the 1080p footage of the others, and the performance also speaks for itself.
Extra mode!
Nevertheless, the Pixel 7 Pro is still good, as the Mate 50 Pro takes third, and the outdated stabilization of the Galaxy S22 Ultra takes last place. Keeping the phone stable is all good and well, but what do you do if we want to shoot close up? Seems like Huawei is going hard in macro, a category that I didn't really expect. Their macro photos look really, and I mean really good, and also pretty consistent. Normally it's Google with the most detail and best colors, iPhone with the closest shots, etc. But Huawei impressed us here with their attention to detail, so we gave them the gold medal in macro, as the other three are too close for comfort and will be tied due to varying results. Speaking of varying results, we unfortunately didn't get much in slow motion. No 3840 frames this time, as these devices all have a maximum of 240 frames, besides the Galaxy, who has the option to shoot in 960 frames, albeit in not the best quality. Regardless, it does do the job, which is why it will get 4 points for allowing us to shoot in more frames compared to the stable 240 of Huawei, iPhone, and Google, who will all get 3 points in this category. Another one that they're all pretty similar is autofocus, as I personally didn't see any of the phones having trouble with shifting the focus in and out, and also portraying me with the best required clarity as I came back into the frame, which obviously means that there are no complaints about any of these devices. So this audio test is going to be starting off with the Huawei Mate 50 Pro, our newest addition to our collection. It will be joined by one of the most consistent phones that we've had in our comparisons, the iPhone 14 Pro. Next up is the Google Pixel 7 Pro, one of the best Android phones that have been released so far. And lastly, as we wait for the new upgrade, which will be out very soon, the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. The Google Pixel 7 Pro's mic is just really good. The Mate 50 Pro's mic is also clean, but has a slight robotic touch to it. Between the iPhone and the Galaxy, I'd choose the iPhone because even though they're both slightly muffled, the sound quality of the Galaxy is, in our opinion, not up to par. So, last but not least, photos and videos at night. The phone to throw the first punch will be the Pixel 7 Pro, as their photo looks far nicer than the other three. The Mate 50 Pro takes second place, the iPhone 14 Pro takes third, as the Galaxy S22 Ultra takes last, with lacking detail around the face. Next up, while I originally liked the natural look of Samsung here, I noticed that Huawei's photo is almost flawless with accurate colors, good detail, and little sharpness. The other three are decent and will be tied. Third photo is a tie between the Mate and the Pixel for first, with the iPhone following close behind as the Galaxy takes third. Photo number 4 is nice scenery, and they all portrayed it pretty well with no errors, so 4 points across the board. Fifth photo is our signature no light photo, and I'm impressed with what Samsung did. Apple comes in second, with Huawei obviously taking third because Google messed up in this instance. Our last white photo is a close tie between Google and Samsung, and Huawei takes third with a pretty saturated image because this time Apple's photo is not up to par. Now let's annoy these phones with some ultra-wide shots. I'm not a fan of any ultra-wide camera of any phone at night, but the iPhone did a better job here, followed by the Galaxy, the Mate, and lastly, the Pixel. The iPhone really impressed me in this photo though, as the sky looks super cool. The Galaxy is second once again, with the Mate and the Pixel being tied for third. This is a close one across the board, with the exception of the pink photo taken by Huawei's flagship, so it will get 1 point less than the others. In the next ultra-wide photo though, Samsung shines with great detail and adequate sharpness. Following it will be the iPhone, the Mate, and the Pixel. With photos out of the way, the 4 points for the first video will be snagged by Apple, as Google impresses and gets second place. Huawei and Samsung both underperforming with regard to focus issues will net them 2 points each. The second video is the same, but Samsung gets last place in this one as the focus is not stable and is shifting slightly in and out. Lastly, an ultra-wide video for giggles. Apple once again does the best job, as Samsung is also decent. A lot of noise on Google here, but Huawei is completely dark, so it takes last place. Overall, the night category goes to Apple, and Samsung, Google, and Huawei follow them in the standings. The end to another long and detailed camera comparison has arrived, with Apple taking the photo category this time around, with their software stepping up during different lighting conditions. Shout out to Huawei for coming in second place. Ultrawide was claimed by Google, while portrait went once again the way of Apple. Videos are of course the specialty of the iPhone, but the selfie camera was a three-way tie between Apple, Google, and Samsung. Zoom went to the Galaxy S22 Ultra, with stabilization being taken by the iPhone due to their new software improvements. Macro was surprisingly taken by Huawei, outperforming 3 of the best macro phones out there. Slow motion went the direction of Samsung, while autofocus was actually split between the 4, and we deduced that Google had the best audio quality. Lastly, the iPhone outperformed at night, partially due to their unbeatable status with regard to videos. Drop a comment below on your thoughts of the performance of these devices, and let us know if the Huawei Mate 50 Pro lived up to your expectations. Keep in touch guys, and I'll see you around.